Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you guys are new. Today's video is going to be a 3 looks 1 palette with the Profusion Harvest palette. I picked this up about a month ago when it launched, and I've been talking to you guys about how much I love it. I do already have 2 videos on my channel where I use this. I have both the review video and then a get ready with me. So I'm going to have both of those linked below if you want 2 additional looks that I've created with this palette. But for this video, I'm going to try and create 3 looks that aren't exactly similar to those other 2. So what I have on my eyes right now is going to be look number 1, and we'll go ahead and jump into that. Okay, so for the first look, I want to dip into some of the more gold and yellow tones because I have not created a look with that yet. So I think for starters, I'm going to go in with the shade Nurture, and I just have concealer on the eyelids. I don't have a primer on today. I want to use this shade as my transition shade and also in the crease because I don't think I'm going to bring any other shades above the crease. I'm also going to pinch the brush and put this on the lower lash line. Okay, next up, I want to go into the shade called Gather on a smaller fluffy brush. I want to put this in the crease, but like I said, I don't want to bring it above the crease. This is a really nice gold shade. With the same brush, I want to go into the shade called Crop and put this on the outer part of the crease. I also want to put this on like the outer V of the lid. With the first brush that I used, I'm going to pick up more of the shade Nurture that I used as the transition, and I want to use this to help blend out the shades I've been using. And then with the brush that had the more warm tones on it, I also want to pinch that and run it along the lower lash line, but I'm not adding any more product. With a pencil brush, I want to go in with the shade Foliage. And I want to put this on the very outer part of the lid. I'm just going to kind of stamp this here. And then going back in with the second brush we used, I'm just going to help blend that shade as well. I'm not adding any more product though. I want to go ahead and put some NYX glitter glue all over the lid so that I can add the shimmer shade. I think I'm just going to dip into the one shimmer shade called Marigold. I feel like it's going to go really well with these matte shades. I'm just going to pick up the shade Marigold with my finger. This is like a gold shade that has a little bit of a flip to it between yellow and green. You can kind of use this shade as a topper, but I'm really packing it all over the lid to be a little bit more opaque. Again, with the second brush that we use, I'm just going to blend out the edges of the shimmer shade. I think that is such a stunning look. I'm probably going to end it here for the most part. I do want to use this eyeliner though. This is the NYX Epic Wear in Gilded Taupe, and I want to put this on the waterline. Okay, and then lastly for the inner corner, I want to go in with the shade Communal, and I'm going to try and use this with a brush first. Yeah, I think a brush actually applied that really nicely. I'm going to tap a little bit of the shade Marigold that we used on the lid on top of the inner corner to make it a little bit more gold, but I'm not tapping a lot at all, just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to apply some mascara. This is the REM Beauty Lengthening Mascara, and I'll be right back. Okay, I added my mascara, and then also for my blush, I have on the Patrick Ta Duo in She's So LA, and then for lips, I have on the NYX Butter Gloss in Madeline. That's going to be it for look number 1. I really like how this turned out. I feel like sometimes when I look at this palette that I think I'm only going to be able to create green looks, so it's nice to kind of remind myself that I can reach for this for more of an everyday sort of neutral look that's going to still be really pretty and have a lot of impact, especially when you use some of these shimmer shades that are just really impactful. And you could have also used this a little bit lighter or just use the shade Communal on the lid instead of Marigold, and I feel like you could have gotten an even more toned down sort of version of this palette for a look. So yeah, I'm really excited about look number 1, but let's go ahead and jump to the next one. Okay, for the second look, I went ahead and did the look on one eye so that I kind of knew where I was headed, and I feel like I never do smoky eyes like this, but I love it so far. So I'm really excited to do the other eye and see how it all comes together. I did go ahead and put some liner on, so I used the NYX Epic Wear. I used the shade Deepest Brown on the upper part of my lid, like in the waterline, or tight line, I guess it's called. And then I used the Gilded Taupe shade for my waterline. So the first thing I did was dip into the shade Vegetation, and this is on a little bit more of a dense crease type brush. And I want to put this over on the outer part of the crease and kind of blend it in. I have concealer on my eyelids right now. I did not prime them, but I did set them down a little bit with my CoverGirl pressed powder. The shade blends out so nicely, even with a pretty dense brush. I feel like you can get a certain look out of it if you kind of pack it on, but you can get a totally different look if you go ahead and blend it all out. Then with a small fluffy brush, I went into the shade Oak. We also use this in look number 1, but I'm going to use this to kind of blend the vegetation shade up towards the brow bone. But I don't really want to be heavy-handed with any of the shades I'm putting in the crease, just because the lid is so smoky that I wanted to kind of leave it a little bit lighter up top. I'm going to go in with a little bit more of vegetation and kind of pack this on the outer part of the lid and crease, just to build up the color a little bit more. I also kept the lid slightly more rounded this time. This brush is a little bit more densely packed, and I'm going to go into the shade Nocturnal. This is the deepest matte shade in the palette, and I want to pack this on the very outer portion of the lid. I'm going to use my powder brush because I did have a little bit of fallout with that one. I typically would have done my eyes first, but for the purpose of this video, I really wanted to go ahead and have the face makeup done, so we're just going to have to do a little bit of extra blending. I'm going to go back into vegetation several times, but I'm going to go ahead and pick up a little bit more and just kind of blend the Nocturnal shade. And then with the brush that we had Oak on, I'm not adding anything extra, but I do want to go ahead and blend again just to make sure that we don't have anything that's not well blended or anything that's patchy. And then I'm actually going to take that same brush and dip into Nurture ever so slightly. Like, I'm not picking up a lot of this at all, but I want to put this through the crease just to add a tiny bit of warmth to the look. Then I'm going to take NYX glitter glue and put this all over the lid. The star of this show is the shade called Fern. I'm going to pick that up with a flat shader brush, and I'm just going to kind of pack this all over the lid. I'm using the brush especially to get into the inner corner because that is where I have the hardest time putting the shade with my finger, but I am going to go ahead and put the shade on with my finger for the majority of the lid. This shade is just so pretty. With the shade that we used for Oak and Nurture, I'm going to slightly blend above the shimmer as well. Then with a really tiny brush, I'm going to go into the shade called Secret Garden. I'm going to make sure to tap the brush off for that one because I'm going to be putting this on the lower lash line. So I want to go ahead and blend this all along the lower lash line. And I'm also going to pack this in the inner corner. I'm going to use the shade Communal for my brow bone highlight. Again, I'm tapping the brush off for this one because I didn't want it to be too bold. And then the last shade we need to add, I'm using yet again another brush. This look took several brushes, but I'm going into the shade called Harvest Moon, which is this beautiful, like, iridescent sort of topper shade. And I'm going to top the inner corner shadow with this, but I also decided to bring this up slightly onto the lid, just the smallest little bit, to add a little bit of brightness because I felt like that made the smoky eye a lot more wearable for my eye shape. Smoky eyes can really close off my eye shape and just kind of make my eyes look really small. So I tend to not actually wear smoky eyes very often, but I felt like this was just the perfect way to kind of still open up the eyes, but then also allow them to be pretty smoky. For the majority of the lid, I'm just adding this bright shade right in the front. One last time, I'm going to take this brush that had the shade Oak and just blend right above the shimmer shades into the crease, just to make sure everything's blended out. And that is it for this eye look. I'm going to go ahead and apply mascara. I used the REM Beauty Lengthening Mascara again today. For this look, I used the Etude House Lovely Cookie Blusher in the shade Ginger Honey Cookie for my blush. And I used 3 products for my lip combo. I used the lip liner in the shade Nude from Kokie. Then I used the Milani lipstick in the shade Tease. This is one of their matte lip fetish lipsticks. And then I used a little bit of the NYX Butter Gloss in Madeline again, just on the center of my lips, just to add a little bit of shine to them. Okay, but that is it for look number 2. I actually really love how this turned out. I feel like I would never go for a smoky eye with like a mint inner corner and lower lash line, But I really wanted to kind of go out of my comfort zone with this one because I feel like with the 2 looks I have in other videos, as well as look number 1, they're all a little bit more wearable, a little bit more just kind of like typical for what I would do, but I really wanted something that was going to be a little bit different for what I usually do. So I really hope that you guys like look number 2, and then I will see you for look number 3. Okay, for look number 3, I already did one eye, so you're kind of seeing the look that we're going to create right now, but I really like this one, so let's go ahead and create it on the other eye. I really wanted to create 3 like very different looks for this video. Also keep in mind, I'm going to have those videos linked where I have the other looks I've created with this, but when I look at this, I automatically think of a green palette, but I feel like you can go so many directions with this. So in our first look, we had a more gold kind of look. In the second look, we had all of our greens. I have 2 other green looks with this palette, so I decided this time I wanted to dip mostly into the shade of Foliage and Growth to complete the look, and this is what I've come up with. I also think that this would be a really pretty look if I had gone the green route with the shade Willow and used the shade Growth as well. I also used Communal in the first part, so we're gonna go ahead and create it, but I just kind of wanted to give you like my idea on the look before we got started. First up, I'm gonna go into the shade called Nurture, and I'm just gonna put this in the crease and kind of put it everywhere as a transition shade as well. I'm also going to run this along the lower lash line. Then I'm going to go in with the shade Crop, and I want to put this in the crease, but I tried to do kind of like a different shape today and sort of elongate the crease and then also the shimmer shade that we're going to put on top. So I wanted to kind of pull this shade out towards the end of the brow. But this shade's also going to go all in my crease. I picked up a little bit more of the shade Nurture just to kind of help blend it a little bit. Then with a little bit more of a dense crease brush, I'm going to pick up the shade called Foliage. This is one that I really wanted to focus on for this look. And I want to, again, just kind of map out this sort of pointed edge here. And I do want to bring this in the crease just a little bit. I also want to pinch the brush and bring this on the lower lash line, but I'm only bringing it in about 1/3 through the lower lash line. And I'm going to go back in with the brush we were just using without adding any more product and blend it in the first part of the crease. With another fluffy crease brush, I want to go into the shade Autumn. This one's a little bit more orangey than Foliage. Speaking of autumn, this look really reminds me of autumn, which of course I love, but for this shade, I kind of want to put it on top of Foliage and then bring it slightly higher than Foliage as well. And of course, blend it into the crease. And then with an even smaller crease brush, I'm going to go in with the shade Foliage again. I feel like sometimes for makeup looks, I will use 10 different brushes for the eyeshadow look. Other times I'll use 1 or 2. Today is one like 10 brushes. So I want to build this up again on this outer corner, just to make sure that this color is going to really show for us. With the first brush that I used, I'm just going to kind of blend everything without adding anything extra right now. I want to make sure that the creases of both eyes match. I think that they do. Once I put the shimmer shade on, I think it will kind of deepen up this a little bit, and I think it'll be where I want it. As usual, I'm going to put on a little bit of NYX glitter glue. I always use this with my shimmer shades, so today is going to be no different. With a flat shader brush, I'm going to pick up the shade Communal. It's this nice like champagne type color. And I kind of made an exaggerated inner corner here. It was kind of on accident, kind of not. I started out with a little bit and then I decided I wanted to kind of blend it in with the front of the lid. So that's what I'm going to be doing with the brush. I'm just going to kind of bring it up into the crease. And I want this to kind of cover the first part of the lid. I'm going to be blending it in with the other shimmer shade, so I am going to bring it in a little bit farther than what you might see over here on the other eye. And then I used a smaller flat shader brush in the shade Growth. This one did have a little bit of fallout, so just be careful if you're doing your eyes after your face makeup like I am. I did end up getting a good bit of glitter fallout. The glitter glue helps a little bit with that, but I just honestly prefer to do my eye makeup first. I'm just going to be kind of bringing the shimmer shade up in a pointed manner. I don't usually do this kind of a look, but I honestly really like how it turned out. And then I'm going to go back in with Communal, and I'm just going to blend these multiple times, like going between brushes. With the last crease brush I used with the shade Foliage, I'm going to pick that brush up again without adding anything extra and just blend around that point again and kind of overlap it with the shimmer shade. And then I'm just going to build up the shade Growth one more time. I just am trying to get it at this point to match the other eye just by building up intensities and blending. I'm going to pick up a little bit of the shade Growth with my finger, and I'm going to bring it in a little bit farther onto the shade Communal, and then make sure to blend the shade Communal with it so that they blend nicely on the lid. I'm going to go in again with the shades Crop and Foliage kind of together on the same brush and blend this into the crease because I feel like I'm missing a little bit of redness here on the outer corner like I have on the other side. Okay, so on this eye, I brought the shimmers up a little bit higher into the crease, and I kind of like that blend. I know this one looks more intense, but I think it's because of my mascara, so I'm just going to use a little bit of the shade Communal and kind of lightly bring it up into the crease to match what I've just done on the other eye. And then I'm just continuing to kind of buff and blend everything together. And then one last time, I'm going to go in with the shade Foliage. And I'm going to run this on the very outer portion of the look, as well as like right to the lower lash line here, and blend it in one more time before topping it with a little bit more Growth. And then blending out the edge with the first brush again. For this look, I actually did decide to curl my lashes. And then I'm going to go ahead and build up mascara with the Essence Lash Princess Sculpted Volume Mascara and the Ilia Fullest Volumizing Mascara to kind of round out the look, and then we will see if I matched them okay. It's not perfect. This is why I don't like doing one eye and then the other one, because I've done so many different steps on one eye that to match it is kind of difficult on the other eye, but I'll be right back when I put some mascara on. Okay, I totally forgot to say, but I also brought the shimmer shades on the lower lash line, so I just kind of like matched them, and I put the shade Communal on like the first 2/3, half to 2/3-ish of the lower lash line. And then I put the shade Growth on the outer part of the lash line. So definitely forgot to say that. I'm very sorry. So for my blush, I actually mixed together the Flower Beauty Blush Balm and the Burt's Bees Luminizer. And that is what is on my cheeks. So really like that combo right now. It makes a really pretty color. And then for lips, I used the Kokie lip liner in the shade Nude, and I also used the Kokie lipstick. This one is in the shade Hazelnut Cream. So that's what's on the cheeks and the lips. But that is going to be it for this video. This is the end of the third look. I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video and seeing 3 different, very different looks with the Profusion Harvest palette. This has become such a favorite of mine, and I just really enjoy reaching for it. I feel like you can create so many different looks. I'm very excited to use this in the autumn season. Definitely going to be reaching for this palette a ton during the fall. I just know it for sure because literally every single shade in this palette just screams fall to me. I mean, how can it not? I just feel like it's just such a perfect palette for fall. I kind of wish it would have come out like right now, and I think it would have gotten a little bit more buzz, but I'm going to be using it, so you're going to hear some buzz from me about it, especially in the upcoming months. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Let me know down below which look was your favorite. If you did enjoy this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you want to see more content from me. This, I'm sure, will be featured, but let me know also what other palette in my collection do you want to see a 3 looks 1 palette with, because I really want to work my way through my entire collection and have a video like this on all of them, whether it be a 1 week 1 palette or a 3 looks 1 palette, just kind of depending, but I want to make sure I have like a good featured video on almost every palette in my collection. Be sure to let me know down below what other palettes you want to see this with, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!